Okay, Happy New Year to everybody. It is a new year. Kidney Buzz here to make sure that you're successful this year in your pursuits. A big area that a lot of patients are pursuing is life post post dialysis. And so we have been covering. If you haven't had a chance to, make sure that you go back and you look at the previous live streams. We have been covering artificial kidney. Today, we're going to cover a part one of kidney transplant and kind of how you can quickly move from where you are toward a kidney transplant. I know a lot of patients are on the kidney transplant for many years, 5 years, 7 years. That's the average patient. And so, if you're there, you want to limit the time that you're there. And if you're not there, you're probably very concerned about the fact that you may end up there. Okay. So let's make sure that everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, go ahead and just put a 1 in the chat to make sure that you can hear me all right. We're going to try and make this one a quick one today. It's a Monday, and it's the start of the year, so I know that it's a busy time for a lot of people. And this is a very interesting topic. Let's go ahead and do some housekeeping. Let's make sure that the likes are up. So if you're coming in at any point in time, you're watching the stream, listening to the stream, great. Let's just make sure that we get the likes up. It helps the algorithm as we're trying to grow the broadcast. We're trying to grow the channel. So let's make sure our likes stay up. Just like the video as you're coming and taking a look at the content. And that goes for all the videos. So if any videos you find intriguing and useful, please, let's make sure that you like them and share them so more people can get the information. You can contribute to the channel where we ask you to contribute by sending a donation to Cash App. Our Cash App is real simple. It is Kidney Buzz on Cash App. KIDNEYBUZZ on Cash App. Obviously, you need the cash tag. So please, $15, $20, whatever you can contribute, we'd greatly appreciate it. Also, you can contribute on PayPal, kim@kidneybuzz.com. So you can contribute on PayPal as well. And our Patreon, you just go to Patreon. We have one person that signed up for Patreon at this point in time, which is great. We appreciate it. We need more members. So patreon.com, you just plug in kidneybuzz.com and you'll get right to our page. There'll be exclusive content released on our Patreon related to all of these subjects, just exclusive for our Patreon members. And then we have kidneybuzz.com/donate. So you can donate directly to our website. Today's broadcast is sponsored by Transplant Prime. Transplant Prime is the lead resource to help patients get their stories in local, regional, and national news outlets. Your story matters. Transplant Prime makes sure the right audience sees it. Transplant Prime, as a disclaimer, Transplant Prime is a service and does not guarantee successful transplants. Okay, and also I'm going to an invite. If you want to join the chat, if you want to join the conversation and be added to the panel here, go ahead and click that link and it will notify me so I can add you to the panel. If you want to share insight, you got a kidney transplant quickly or challenges that you're experiencing while attempting to get a kidney transplant. Okay, So just to refresh everybody, Kidney Buzz has been at this for a long time. We've been around nearly for a decade. We've helped a lot of people begin their search for a kidney transplant, successfully helped connect patients with donors and things of this nature. So transplant is really important to us because it helps those who want to get off of dialysis. It gives them a viable means to do so rather successfully. So we're going to delve into a couple topics here. This is going to be a part one of a two-part. We might do the second part later on in the week or next week. But we're going to get started with what we want to share at this point in time. We are going to be focusing specifically on living kidney donors for this part. The second part will be focused on more deceased donation. As a disclaimer, I'm not giving you medical advice. This is for information purposes only. So don't take this as medical advice. Any information you receive anywhere online, you should always run by your healthcare professionals. Okay. So statistics, 12 people die every day waiting for a kidney. So a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think that every patient that's on the list will eventually get a kidney. It's not that way at all. In fact, quite the opposite. A minority of patients, unfortunately, end up getting kidney transplants. Over 3,000 new people are added to the kidney waiting list each month. So every month, 3,000 patients on average, are added to the kidney transplant waiting list. So this is a very serious obstacle and challenge that patients are experiencing with the inability to get a kidney transplant. Why? Because there's so many patients that want one. Okay, so we're going to be exploring that, as we go forward here, and what we could do about that. What's more disheartening is that every year, and I'm going to pull this up, the U.S. discards thousands of donated kidneys each year as patients die on wait list, study says. This might be something that we want to further go into another time, kind of piece out this article. But for this purposes, basically what it's saying is that kidneys that could have been utilized to help patients are discarded because they're considered to be high risk. And these high risk kidneys, without getting into too much detail, these high risk kidneys could help some patients. They may not last as long, but they could help patients. And I think it's like 3,500 of them were discarded. In the United States discards about 3,500 donated kidneys a year, many of which could be used to save lives. New research shows, and this is USA Today. Okay, so this is a credible source that's kind of saying, we have thousands of people dying every year on the kidney transplant waiting list, and we're throwing away good usable kidneys. Okay, so that's kind of for a lot of patients to hear that, but you must know the facts. You must educate yourself on the facts so that you're aware of what patients are up against and ultimately what you're up against. Here's another really astonishing fact that most patients have potentially eligible options. Okay, so it says here, Science News, ScienceDaily.com. This is a credible source. Typically this pulls from research that's published. They say many who die waiting for a kidney had multiple offers. Study finds. Okay, so this is in 2019. This study was released, and by Columbia University. Columbia University is a credible resource, and they're suggesting, in summary, we don't have time to go through the full study. This might be something we want to touch on. If this is an interesting study to you, if this topic is interesting to you about the discarding of kidneys and about offers that patients aren't being told about, leave a comment below, because if we get comments below, we will cover it in more detail. Okay? Basically, the crux of this study is saying that most patients, right here in the summary, it's saying that most patients who died or were removed from the kidney transplant list. So these are patients that have passed away before they ever got a kidney transplant, or they were removed from the list. Why are you removed from the list? Well, you typically get removed from the when, and if there's any issue with the volume or with you hearing me, please let me know. You typically get removed from the list when you're on the list, but you become too ill to get a kidney transplant. So they were listed, they're too ill to now receive a kidney transplant. They were removed from the kidney transplant list before getting a transplant, but they received multiple offers for a donor kidney. Okay, this is according to the Columbia University study. This is Science News. The topic: many who die waiting for a kidney had multiple offers. Study finds. Okay, so that's kind of the status of things. A lot of patients are waiting for a kidney transplant. Unfortunately, most patients aren't getting one. Okay, hence you're not guaranteed a transplant by any stretch. In fact, what we have found at Kidney Buzz is patients who are active and actively working toward getting a kidney transplant are the ones who are successful. Okay, often patients are don't actively pursue a kidney transplant, and so they're kind of waiting for the call, which is understandable to some degree. They're just kind of waiting for their name to be called. They think there's a list there and that they're on somewhere on that list. In reality, there's no formal list as such. There is a database. Your name's in a database for selection, but there's no formal list. But the point is, they go into it with best intents. They wait around. Years go by. Okay, months go by first, and then years go by. 2 years, 3 years, before they know it, 5 years have gone by. They've wanted a kidney transplant. They haven't gotten it yet. And they say, hey, what the heck is going on? What can I do to prevent this or to correct this? Okay. So let's go ahead and touch on some things that you can do actively to correct this issue. Again, we're focusing here on living kidney donation. At this point, we're looking at living kidney donors. Social media alone oftentimes is not enough. Okay, if we were having this conversation 5 years ago, go-to source would be social media. You'd put up a post on social media. You'd say that you're in need of a kidney transplant, and people would show interest. People would share it. It may, in some cases, go viral. And patients still do that to this day, and it's not getting them the same results that they were getting even before. That may not have been successful, but at least the post was going viral and it was reaching more people and people were getting tested for them. Well, now patients scratch their head and say, hey, how come this isn't working anymore? Well, simply because more people are on social media. The algorithms of social media have changed. People are less, the news that people receive are more positive news or news that engages them rather than special topics like kidney donation and donation of money and things of this nature. This is a social media algorithm across most, if not all, major social media platforms. Okay, so social media is still useful more as a reference point, meaning if you have your story out there on social media, it's great. If you are getting your message out there, leveraging mainstream media, and it draws them back to your social media page. Let me say that again. Leveraging mainstream media, so people that read in their local, regional, national media outlets, whether they're watching it on TV, reading it in their newspaper, whatever the case might be, it is good to reference your social media because someone that's interested in being your donor can read your story, and then they can go and look at your social media page, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or all the above. They can go look at your social media page, and that is important because fundamentally you want to build a relationship with a possible donor. They may never outreach to you. They may look at your page and say, oh, wow, I can put myself in this person's circumstance. That child looks like my child. That remind me of my grandparents or my parent or whatever the case might be, my sister, brother, cousin. And then they can take the next steps to get tested if you've effectively shared your information for your transplant center or for your contact person. Okay? So social media, so things that's an important point for a lot of patients to recognize that things have drastically changed as it relates to social media. Using social media alone does not typically result in transplants. What oftentimes happens is utilizing mainstream media and leveraging your social media presence greatly increases your opportunity to receive or connect with altruistic, kind-hearted living donors, and and ultimately get a kidney transplant. Okay, no guarantees. We're talking about improving your odds of doing so. Okay, so now that has a kind of a feedback loop because often family members and friends can also serve as donors. However, patients take an approach that if they could, they would. If my loved one could be a donor for me, they would have donated for me. They would have offered to donate for me. So they obviously don't have interest in being my donor because they haven't gone ahead and tested. And that's not always the case. Sometimes people do not realize how serious your kidney situation is, whether you're on dialysis or near dialysis. They don't recognize the seriousness of it. Sometimes they don't recognize that they can be a donor, so they don't pursue that. They think because they don't live in the same state or the same city or area as you, they can't donate to you. So if you are covered in mainstream media, and we'll touch back on this in a second, but if you're covered in mainstream media, your local newspaper, a regional story that's run on the news, whatever the case might be, then you can share with family members and friends, and there will be more detail about the idea of donating to you. So that family members and friends, maybe not direct family members even, cordial family members and cordial friends, they too can learn about the idea of your need for a kidney transplant, and they can step up and be a donor. Okay? At least be evaluated to see if they're a possible match for you. Also, that's another thing. We'll talk more about this in part 2, but the more people that are getting tested for you, that is positive patients in a number of ways. So the more people you can have test for you, oftentimes the better. So even though they may not be a match, consistency is key for a lot of different reasons. But fundamentally, just pure statistics, right? So if you have more people testing for you, it's more likely that you'll find someone who's able to donate to you. Okay, so let's touch on some strategies to get mainstream media attention. Okay, and please, if you're here, please like the video. You're not getting this. No one else is live streaming this type of information to kidney patients. No one else is doing it. We're going to give you really concrete, insightful information about all of the matters related to kidney that you care about. So please like the video, share the video. Please make sure you donate to our Cash App, kidneybuzz.com, our PayPal, kim@kidneybuzz.com, Patreon, or you can go to kidneybuzz.com/donate. They're much appreciated. It helps us to provide you with this type of content. Okay, but strategy, mainstream media attention. You've seen the stories out there that, special human interest stories um, covered by NBC or ABC or USA Today or a local news station or a newspaper or a news outlet? Well, a key strategy to get your story covered would be to contact outlets that are already covering stories like yours. So if you see someone else getting coverage in your local newspaper or a local newspaper in your city, contact them. Contact them that same day that you read the other person's story, and see how and if you can get your story covered. Right? If they're doing it for someone else, human interest, kind-hearted, earned media kind of situation, they may be willing to do it for you. So you should contact that news outlet immediately. Also, take a look at the writers that are writing these types of the reporters that are reporting on these types of stories, writing on these types of stories. Okay, hopefully you can. I think I dropped off there. Hopefully you can hear me now. Um, so Anne had her story covered in her local media. She was successful in getting a kidney transplant. She also did a billboard, by the way, but she was successful in getting her story covered. Here she is.
Seeking kidney. A local woman hopes those two words can help change her life. The Eau Claire woman is desperately searching for kidney, and she's taking unique steps to try and find her match. WEA Winkleman shares more about the process of finding a stranger willing to become a donor.
Oh, it's gotten worse as time's gone on.
Anne Schnagel has been searching for her life-saving kidney for more than 4 years.
I had a couple of my friends' daughters tried it, and they got disqualified.
For the past 4 years, she has been on the transplant list.
It was about 8 years for someone to pass away to get a kidney.
Anne says the list could take many more years, so she's turning to the public and recently put up a billboard along North Hastings Way in Eau Claire, hoping that someone driving by would give her a call.
I wish I would have done a billboard a couple of years ago, but I never thought of it.
She did receive one phone call, but the willing donor was not a match.
I can find someone to help me or help someone else, because they do have a program where, like, if someone doesn't match me and they want to donate kidney, then mine would go up on the list.
Anne was diagnosed with kidney disease in 2000, but by 16, she was put on dialysis.
I never know how I'm going to feel after each treatment. Sometimes I might be, but other times I just get so sick, I just come home, go to bed.
But the thing that keeps her going is her job at Lutheran Social Services.
I'm still working, so that's hard. But I like my job, so I knew if I quit, I'd be worse off.
Keeping her busy during this time of waiting.
Go to people's houses and take them shopping or take them out in the community, take them to doctor's appointments.
Anne is always helping others, but now she is hoping a kind stranger will return the favor.
Yeah, it would save my life.
To see if you are a possible match for Anne, head to weau.com for a link to the donor registry. In Eau Claire, Sarah Winkleman, WEAU 13 News.
Yeah, so it's that type of exposure that allows to learn about your need for a kidney donor and a kidney transplant. So something like this, if you're in the Wisconsin area, maybe outreach to that news station. What is it? WEAU 13, and see if they'll cover you. Don't be too camera shy. And if you are camera shy, mention that they don't necessarily bring the cameras, but they still cover your story in an article or something of this nature. Okay. So, and then, like I mentioned, should you get coverage, share your story with others, because that's going to help them become aware of your need for a kidney donor as well. And make sure when you talk about your story to reporters or to the mainstream media, make sure that's newsworthy. So you don't want it to be, fall flat. It's something that captures attention, captures the eyeballs, and would be something that reporters would say, why don't we run this article? Okay. Transplant Prime, transplantprime.com. They are, their link is below. Take a look at them to help you kind of craft your message and get your story out there. But yeah, so mainstream media, utilize mainstream media, leverage that, and then draw it into your social media. Look toward your family and friends. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times patients say if they would, they could. If they could, they would. If they could donate, they would donate. But in reality, that's oftentimes seldom the case. Most of your family members and friends want to help you. And if they can't donate, or if they're concerned about the idea of donation, or don't, aren't healthy enough to donate, I can't tell you how many times a family member or friend said, I want to help. So it's not necessarily only your family member and friend. They may not be the person that donates to you. It might be someone that they know that says, oh, really? My grandfather was in that position. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I'm very healthy. I want to help. So you never know where it's going to come from. That is why it's important to engage family and friends in your story, in your need, and keep them engaged. So it's not just telling them one time, it's keeping them engaged through the entire process until you're successful. And then the last point that we're going to make here is, as we wrap, I'm going to give viewers the option of joining the live stream if you'd like. You can join the live stream. If you have something to add, or you want to share your story or ask a question, feel free to join. We've posted the links to the Cash App. You can donate directly on kidneybuzz.com. We posted that link, and we posted a link to the Patreon. So feel free to use any of those links to contribute to the platform. But what it says here, most recently, the link that I just joined. And you can join the stream if you'd like. Okay? And if you don't want to join the stream, leave a comment below and tell us how you are searching for your donor. What are you doing to connect with living donors? Below. Leave a comment below. Okay? And then ranking matters. So the ranking and activity of your transplant center matters. Let me see if I can find the rankings of the transplant centers here in the U.S. Yeah. Top kidney transplant centers. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to take a look at the top ranked transplant centers in the U.S. And what you'll find is, so look, this is for donors. This is kidneytransplantcenters.org. Right now we're on donors. Okay, we're going to go for recipients because you would be considered a recipient. The person that receives the kidney transplant is the recipient. And based upon kidney for a life participant, based upon low epaulet transplant last 12 months, based upon NKR, this is National Kidney Registry transplants last 12 months. Okay, so National Kidney Registry is an association that registers donors and connects donors and recipients. There's different programs that do that. FindKidneyDonor.com is another one. Living donor transplants prior year. And patient microsites. So this is like a mini website. Again, to go into more detail about that, FindKidneyDonor.com. And then this is interesting, non-steroidal protocol. So this is like having to do with not, this indicates whether a center offers a non-steroidal immunosuppressive regimen in order to avoid the negative side effects of long-term steroid therapy. Okay, so this is kidneytransplantcenter.org's list of top transplant centers. They list University of Minnesota Medical Center number 1, Intermountain Center number 2, that's in Utah, University of Wisconsin Health Transplant Program, that's number 3, MedStar Georgetown University Hospital is number 4, and number 5, rounding out the top 5, Mayo Clinic Rochester. Okay, Mayo Clinic is a top center. Even if you are having a being listed, Mayo Clinic takes high risk, difficult cases. So fundamentally, why the transplant center rankings are important is because higher ranked transplant centers are likely, you have to do your research and confirm this, but oftentimes higher ranked transplant centers are, one, doing more transplants per year than lower ranked centers, and 2, which means that there's likely less mistakes that occur and likely more opportunities for transplants. Again, this is a generalization. You want to do your research on each specific center, and we can even help you vet centers. You can contact at kidneybuzz.com, and we can help identify some areas that you may want to look at your center. But also, number 2, oftentimes higher ranked centers are more willing to try and creatively solve the problem. They're more engaged with their patients. That's why they're higher ranked than lower ranked centers, right? So oftentimes your nephrologist will send you to the center that they are more familiar with or they're more comfortable with. Do your own research. Identify the center that you want your nephrologist to recommend you for, or multi-list. And we can explore that in more detail, the idea of multi-list, so that you're at a high-ranked transplant center that you feel comfortable with. Okay? Now, when you're at the center, continue to be proactive. You don't want to now, okay, you're there, you're comfortable, now you're just kind of going with the flow. Don't do that. Continue to be proactive. Contact with your transplant team on a regular basis. Regular typically means once a quarter. Okay? So to build relationships with your coordinators. I can tell you that most patients do not have great relationships with their coordinators. They call them once a year for reevaluation, and that's about all the communication they get from their coordinator. No. Build a strong relationship with your coordinator so that you're in regular contact with them. Is there an issue? Do they need something else from you? Are people getting tested? Some of these questions they can answer, some of them they cannot answer. But the fact of the matter is you need to pose them so that they can give you the information that they're allowed to provide you with. Okay? Okay, So no one has taken me up on the offer to join the panel here. We are going to conclude it there. Okay. If you're watching this on playback, don't be shy. Please support the platform. You can Cash App Kidney Buzz, KIDNEYBUZZ. You can donate to kidneybuzz.com/donate, and you can also join our Patreon. We love when you support the platform because we're patient focused. So the only way that we're able to, our fundamental passion is from patient support like yours. Okay. If there's anything that you want to see us cover going forward, please leave a comment below and let us know. Also, visit our site directly at kidneybuzz.com. Like us on Facebook, Instagram under Kidney Buzz, Instagram, Twitter. We're very active. We're very much engaged with our patients. Feel free to send us a comment via email, contact@kidneybuzz.com. We're wishing you the best and have a great rest of your day.